see a countdown. I can see that other people have come into the little group.
Oh, that's funny because I don't see that. But hey, everybody on Facebook Live. We are here with RobMitchell James. Now, it says Rob Edwards under your name because that's your login. So RobMitchell James is a television producer extraordinaire. We're going to get into this in just a moment. Actually, now I already read your bio, so we're pretty much ready to go, Rob.
Excellent. I'm good.
Any questions for me before I finally hit that trigger?
I'm good to go. All right.
Go. Awesome. All right. Well, we are live in 3, 2. We are live with RobMitchell James. Rob, are you ready to talk?
I'm ready to talk. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for the chance.
RobMitchell James is a professional actor, public speaker, personal coach, and founder of Lifecycle Coaching. Rob is also a qualified mental health first aider and the person behind the hashtag Man Rebranded, a support network focused on men's mental health. Rob is also a 2-time Ironman triathlete. He's completed Ironman UK in 2014 and 2015. RobMitchell James, welcome to the talk.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the thank you for the opportunity. It's a great opportunity. It's a great thing that you're doing, and I'm proud to be part of it.
Well, thanks, Rob. Your talk is called Man Rebranded: Why Modern Masculinity is Fundamentally Flawed. And if I had the opportunity just to summarize your whole talk in just a few words, I would say that the crux of your talk is that man's operating system for modern men in the 21st century needs to be upgraded from where we're pretty much stuck in the 19th century. It's not working out very well for us. And certainly your story is very tragically very typical, but you found a way out. So take us behind the talk, Rob.
Yeah, I think you've summarized it in a better way than I possibly could have then. So clearly you've seen it, and I appreciate your feedback. So behind the talk, I mean, I'm 47. That means I've got 47 years experience of being a man. And like you say, that's 47 years experience of being shaped by all these different influences that create our lens on life. You know, our parental influences, our societal influences, relationships, our workplaces, and things like that. And all this creates an image of masculinity that we've become so familiar with. It gives us a lens through which we see things. But it's an image that I think has become increasingly outdated over time. And it's very out of touch with the demands of modern society. And you know, we've been brought up for years, for decades, with this perspective that men don't talk, that we're stoic, that we man up, put up, and shut up and get on with it. But it starts really early on as well. But the reality is we're all human, and if we don't deal with our insecurities and our pressures, then like water, it will find a way out. And we're now starting to see the impact of that in some of the statistics that are very, very prevalent, very often spoken about around men's mental health, around suicide. These things are becoming less stigmatized. So my talk was really to shine a light on that, to use my own personal experiences to encourage men to open up and realize that it's actually beneficial and it's stronger to do that.
Rob, why is it so hard for us as men to change? It's so hard. Every day we wake up, we have these old patterns, what it means to be a man, what it means to be responsible, what it means to provide. And it's so hard to change this particular operating system. I know for you as a television producer, you talk about being silent, holding it all in, being disengaged, even though you're totally at work, doing your job, being productive, doing what you need to do on the job, but you are completely disconnected. My question is, why is it so hard for us to change?
There's a number of things in there. It's years of conditioned behavior and image and perspectives that we have to live up to. You know, we're brought up through decades of that belief system that we don't deal with our emotions. So we have all of that decade of history that's created men as they are now. But so that's one element of it. But the second part is any form of change is difficult. Any form of new behavior, any form of acceptance of a new thought process is notoriously difficult because we get so conditioned in our ways of behavior. We sometimes aren't aware of the impact that that behavior has on us. So we find it very easy to fall back into repeating patterns of behavior. And so we almost live to those expectations. We conform to what we think is expected of us. I did that for years. No one ever told me to stop doing what I was doing. It was only my own levels of awareness. And it happened in 2016 when, I hit a huge period of depression. It slapped me in the face, literally, that I became aware. And then it's a case of putting new behaviors in place to overtake those previous behaviors.
Yeah, well, and take us a little bit behind whatever that looked like for you, kind of bottoming out, realizing that you needed to learn this new operating system and a new set of skills to be able to take on life and connect not just with other people but with yourself again.
I think it's with self first of all. I think it can only come once you're connected to self and you understand yourself in more detail. Then you connect more authentically with others. So I perfected this art of manning up over the years because that's what I thought was expected of me. I had, as you say, the TV production job. It's a notoriously difficult industry if you are suffering. You can't raise your hand and say, I'm struggling a bit, because you'll be replaced immediately. And so I created this mask for years. And no one, as I say, ever told me to stop. No one ever said, that's all right, mate. You've done enough. Just ease off a little bit. So I was living the dream. I was chasing the success. I was doing all those things. I was manning up. But I became aware because I realized that I got my priorities all out of kilter. I'd lost focus on all the important things in life. I was focused on being the stoic, the protector, the provider, the hunter, all of those different things. But my relationships were suffering. My health was suffering. I'm an Ironman, I put my health and fitness as a high priority. But for me, that became almost an escape mechanism because it was an excuse, in effect, to not deal with my other stuff.
That's powerful.
Only when
That's powerful because the physical dimension, being a 2-time Ironman, and you're telling me right now that was actually a manifestation of everything else you were doing literally to man up, and it became more of an escape than the appropriate physical health release valve that it's supposed to be. Is that a fair thing to say, Rob?
That's my evaluation of it. Yeah. I mean, I adore the whole Ironman phenomenon. I'm intensely proud of what I achieved. I have I have the tattoo to prove, and I will always be proud of it. But when you've got 112 miles to ride, when you've got a marathon to run, when you've got 2.5 miles to swim, it becomes very easy to focus on that and almost obsess around that. And what I realize now on reflection, I didn't realize at the time, but my obsession around those, that multi-sport activity was a protection mechanism around not dealing with my shit, basically, not dealing with all the other stuff that was going on in my life. It's very easy to say, well, I'm not going to deal with that because I've got to do 7 hours on my bike. So beware the obsessives.
Well, absolutely. We've been enjoying this talk with RobMitchell James. His talk is called Man Rebranded: Why Modern Masculinity is Fundamentally Flawed. And we're talking about that, but we're going to pivot over to you, Talk Universe. We're going to go over in just a moment to the Blitz Round. And we're back with RobMitchell James. It is time for the Blitz Round. I'm going to ask Rob a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of his recent talk. Are you ready, Rob?
Yeah, I'm ready. Hit me.
All right. First question. Were you invited to speak or did you apply?
I applied to speak. I saw there was a TED license given out in my neighboring town. It was the second year, the license. I wrote and I went through the process, and luckily I was accepted.
Just like the rest of us. Awesome. Well, you walk out. Are you a memorizer, improviser, or a blender?
I was a memorizer, because I act. I know that
Hmm.
that method of
Hmm.
memorizing scripts and lines would work for me. So I memorized my script from beginning to end, and it was faultless. Yeah, fortunately.
That's what I hear from every actor or everyone that is tertiary to that industry. There is a life that can be given to memorize lines when you truly internalize it, memorize it, and then are able to be present with all of that. So, any
Yeah,
words of encouragement to people? I know not everybody should always memorize. Some people need to do other things. But what would you say, digging a little deeper into that, Rob?
yeah, you've hit the nail on the head again there. I think it's not just learning it; it's learning it beyond learning it. So you can recount this thing while you're driving your car. You can recount it while you're ironing your shirts. Because only then, when it's embedded as part of your DNA almost, that you can actually put the flavor and the color and the tone into it. Because if you're having to remember the next line, you will lose the impact of what that line is trying to say. But if you know that it's there, and it takes time, it does. You can't skimp on that. It takes time, but that time it pays back tenfold, 20-fold, because then you just know it's there, and that's when you can feel the essence of what you're trying to say.
So, Talk Universe, some really important nuances right there. You have to internalize it, or it's not really memorized, and it's not going to hold up or show up or be there when you need it unless it's internalized. Do something else, iron your shirts, run around the block, whatever you need to do,
Yeah.
and test the memory before you walk out on stage. Now, Rob, you walk out on stage, the lights are there, you're in the industry. Now, my question is, did you still have nerves? Or were you in the zone, or neither, or both?
Both. Yeah, absolutely had nerves. And despite being in the industry, those nerves don't go away. You can
Mhm.
walk onto set, you can walk onto stage, and you still have nerves. But what I've learned over the years is techniques to use those nerves to your advantage and to not be fearful of them. I think you need nerves to perform well. If you don't have them, that's the time to worry, I think. So,
Every
yeah, but
performer
there are
tells
tools
me
and
that.
techniques.
Every
Yeah,
performer tells me that if you're not, I get nervous when I'm not nervous. And,
absolutely. Yeah.
Ted Guru, Simon Sinek says, "Hey, I'm not nervous. I'm excited." It's
Yeah,
just a
it's a
reframing.
reframe. It's
Yeah.
it's the same physiological response. Nerves and excitement are the same as fear. You can just rechannel it. And yeah, if you're not feeling the nerves, then you don't care, in my opinion. So it's a good indicator of how much you care.
Rob, what's a tip, tool, or technique besides memorization that helped you?
Visualization. I was fortunate in the fact that I could go to the location in advance of us actually doing the talk. I
Mm-hmm.
stood on the stage. I took a picture on my iPhone. Other phones are available, and I had a picture of the auditorium, so I knew what it would look like when I was there presenting on the day, and I used that to visualize. I actually learned my talk to that picture. So when I was stood up on the day, I knew exactly what it would look like. Yeah, there were a few more heads on the seats, but I prepared for that. So it wasn't a surprise. The brain is very coachable. The brain can be convinced that it's done
Mm-hmm.
things before that it hasn't actually done. So I would recommend a visualization process. Absolutely.
Well, Talk Universe, we're seeing Rob, the television producer, coming out right here. There are all kinds of skills that come with that domain that I would imagine helped you to be able to understand what was going on in the overall event that day, that helped you empathize with the organizer, the support team, helped probably add a ton of value to the other people. Take us behind. This is an unusual question for me, but it's an unusual skill set. So take me behind what it looks like to you, and how you were able to maybe not, you're wearing your speaker hat, but you're also a television producer. So tell me some of the things that you saw that maybe not everybody would see without that skill set, Rob.
That's a great question. Um, I see the amount of work that everybody behind the scenes puts in.
Mhm.
It's very easy when you think I'm turning up to do a TED talk, that it's a very self-focused process. But I think it's important, because I have an understanding of production, to
Mhm.
have a respect for the amount of work that everybody else puts into that as well. And if you bring that healthy respect to the table, it just makes it a much more holistic, enjoyable experience. You see the other speakers who are going through the same preparation process. They've put their heart and soul into this as well. Respect those. Respect the guy who's created the license and put this thing together. Respect all of those volunteers who have turned up on the day, to usher people into their seats. Respect the people who created the brochures and all the other stuff. It's a big machine. It's a phenomenal, successful machine, and you're just one very small part of a big machine. And that's the same in TV production. It's the same with acting. When you turn up on set, it's not all about you. Just because someone comes to brush a speck of dust off your suit doesn't mean that you're better than anybody else. It's because they need to get rid of that speck of dust. Respect everybody in the process.
Absolutely. Well, we've been enjoying the Blitz Round with RobMitchell James. His talk is called Man Rebranded, Why Modern Masculinity is Fundamentally Flawed. And my words, we need a new 21st century updated operating system. You can watch that talk by typing all of that into YouTube, or you can go to our show notes page at bethetalk.com. We will have a YouTube link to that. All you have to do is click on Rob's website, which we will also have on the show notes page. It's RobMitchell-James.com, RobMitchell-James.com. And in a moment, we will be back with Rob Mitchell James for the final word of advice for you, Talk Universe. And we're back with Rob Mitchell James. It's time for the final word of advice. What is it, Rob?
I've got two little bits, if that's okay. One is relating to the talk, and one is relating to doing a TED Talk. So in terms of my first one, it's about male masculinity and mental health. And my word of advice there is, the next time you're told to man up, and it will happen, I'd encourage you really strongly to just pause and to think about your responses to that. Will you fall back into your old conditioned ways and do what you've always done, or will you really man up, stand up, and open up? That's my first one. My second one is around doing TED Talks. And my only counsel there is be brave enough to do it with full honesty. I think when you've written your first version, it's not deep enough. Write it again, go deeper. Because only when you break through that external shell, which is what the whole essence of modern masculinity is about, only then can you find that genuine authenticity and that reality and the depth and the honesty that I think is lacking and is so needed in the world at the moment. So take your first version, rip it up, go deeper. That's when it becomes interesting.
Rob Mitchell James, thank you so much for carving out time to be on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Thank you, sir. It's been brilliant, and thank you for the opportunity.
Hey, that's a wrap. Great job.
Is that a wrap?
Yeah, that's a wrap. That's a wrap.
Good.
We're gonna say hi to Sally here. She's been in the green room. How are you, Sally?
Oh, I'm so great. Oh my gosh, Rob, I loved everything that you just said. So great. I'm a presentation coach, and I would love to just take everything you said and be like, what he said. Just what he said. Yes, all of that. So good. So good.
Well, hey, you'll be able to.
Nice endorsement.
This will be a shareable broadcast, so you can do that just by sharing it. And if you are in the Rob or Sally fan club, we want you to do this. This isn't the creepy kid from The Shining. This is what we want you to do with your finger over the share button. Say that every week. Everybody always laughs at it. It's because we want you to share, because those algorithms aren't going very far. The battle, folks. Get the message heard.
Love it.
Rob, congratulations. You are our newest Talk alumni. So any advice to Sally, and then we'll see you over in hopefully the alumni group. I don't know if you got that piece or not, or I did mention that to you. So I don't add people to the group because everybody in the other 7 billion people are adding me to their Facebook group. And I'm like, don't do that. But if you'd like to join, I'll certainly send me a reminder and then I will add you to that. That's a great way to connect with me. And more importantly, other Talk alumni who have complimentary talks like Sally certainly does.
Yeah, well, it's a definite yes to that. So I'll nudge you that reminder through, but please do include me in that. And in terms of advice to Sally, I think you've already got it. You've turned up on time. Your tech's working. You're a presentation coach, so you're going to know exactly what to do. So brilliant. Enjoy. Just
Thank
enjoy
you.
it. I think what Nathan's pulled together is awesome, and we know the amount of work that the guy puts into it. So respect that and enjoy.
Hey,
Absolutely.
well, got to credit my Talk Ninjas for doing a lot of the behind the scenes work that I am too, mentally beyond some of the stuff that my amazing team does. So really, really fortunate for that. Rob, thank you so much. We're going to jump on with Sally here. So I'm going to escort
Good luck,
Rob
Sally.
over to the green room over there. And Rob, if you can stick around, that's wonderful. If you've got to run, that's fine too. Sally, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so
Awesome.
excited to be here. Yeah,
Well,
thanks for having
good.
me on the show.
Yeah, well, loved your talk. And just so that you know, I explained this to Rob already. So this is like the movie Inception. We're doing a Facebook Live right now that is already underway. This
Oh
is
my
the
gosh, I love it.
podcast recorder. So it's almost like when DiCaprio was like 3 dream levels deep. And then he had to, I don't know if you saw the movie or not. They had the kick and then the van's falling off the bridge and then he wakes up, but that now he's in the, it's kind of like that for me on a bad day.
That's amazing. I don't know
So we
how
have
you
fun.
do it, right? There are things that can do things that I cannot understand, and I'm grateful for the things, but I can't make it all work together. I don't know how it happens.
I think every time I bring on a guest, and I've had at least 3 or 4 guests that talk about adult ADHD, and I have never been diagnosed with that. And after I listen to them, I'm like, I'm definitely not going to see anybody at that because I think I might just be guilty, and it does help me kind of keep track of things a little bit, which is good. So let's see here. SallyZimney, I am saying your name correctly. I hope, Sally.
Yes, you are.
Okay, very good. And then, okay, I've got to. Thismovedme.com. This
Yes.
moved me. I've got to articulate that or else they'll go to thismovie.com looking for you. Not a speaker, be an unspeaker. And then here it is. Okay. I've got, different moments in time that people sign up. I have a different questionnaire with different fields and whatnot. So I have found the bio. Thanks for being patient with me there. Here we go. Okay.
Yeah, totally.
All right. SallyZimney. This is a run through. This isn't recording. SallyZimney is a presentation coach, speaker, and host at This Moved Me, a podcast about the art of public speaking. Her mission: to create talks that move the world. Through Movers U, an online speaking platform, Sally helps thought leaders transform their approach to public speaking and move their audience.
Sounded good to me.
Sounded good? I get an A?
Yeah, way to go.
All right, awesome. That's why it's a global crew that we're a part of, people from all over the world, and I practice the names, and I've learned to practice the names and the bios before I hit that button. So it's all good. All right, so any questions for me before I hit the button here?
About how long do you think we'll go?
It's recording's only about 15-minute episodes.
Okay.
So they're short and sweet. So it's a good thing. We're about even here on the split screen, which is awesome, which is good. And we are live in 3, 2. We are live with SallyZimney. Sally, are you ready to talk?
I'm so ready. Let's do this.
SallyZimney is a presentation coach, speaker, and host at This Moved Me, a podcast about the art of public speaking. Sally's mission: to create talks that move the world. Through Movers U, an online speaking platform, Sally helps thought leaders transform their approach to public speaking and move their audience. SallyZimney, welcome to the talk.
Thanks, Nathan. So happy to be here.
Your talk is called Not a Speaker, Be an speaker. And
Yes.
what is unspeaking all about? Well, it might look like this. You walk on stage for your talk, and I love it because I'm hearing this disembodied voice, which is really coming through the loudspeaker. Obviously, you pre-recorded it, but it took us, some of us took several seconds to figure out how you were able to do that, and it's just another piece of unspeaking. And I think you demonstrated so well what does it look like when you're not really present, when you're being dramatic, when you're doing all the speakery things that don't really resonate with people as much anymore. Why is that, Sally?
Got it. Yeah. I work with speakers of all different stripes. And the truth is, one of the universal things that I hear from them again and again is they don't consider themselves a speaker, even though they speak. So, especially thought leaders, especially people who want to bring a TEDx like talk to the world, they're like, I have an expertise about something, but I'm not a speaker. And so, I actually feel like there's a really essential place for thought leaders in the speaking world. And, TEDx and TED and all of those different platforms have really elevated the possibilities of what we can do with this platform. And I'm obviously a big believer in the power of it. But we are different kinds of speakers. We're not the professional speakers, even though eventually some of us might end up going that route and you get paid for speaking, and that's a wonderful thing. But there is sort of the speaker type that just doesn't resonate with us, right? That's incredibly polished, that is perfect, that there's a disconnect, that it is kind of the same old spiel again and again. And honestly, that doesn't move audiences. I'm not interested in that. I don't want more of that in the world. And so I wanted to bring out this idea that there's a new kind of speaker, and I call them an unspeaker. And we are all, I think it's accessible to all of us to be able to be fully present, bring our stories out into the world, and connect with an audience in a real and authentic and powerful way. And so that's what I wanted to bring out, this idea that we can all be unspeakers, and in fact, the world needs us to be that way.
I think that's really clear branding, frankly, and messaging from your end, Sally, because why not hit that thing right on the head and say, I'm an unspeaker.
Yeah.
That goes right, huh? And almost like the dog looking at you sideways a little bit. Be an unspeaker. I've heard it said that, there are really two kinds of experts. There's the traditional ivory tower, siloed, smart, super smart, unapproachable expert. And then there's the kind of expert that is all of those things, except they're approachable. They're transparent, they're candid, they're authentic. And the new leaders and the new experts are going to be the ones that don't just have the hard skills, but they're approachable. They have that soft skill ability to connect. Have you noticed the same thing?
Absolutely. And I want to add to that. They're very idea forward people, right? So they're idea driven people. So I'm working with a lot of corporate clients right now that, based on this branded talk phenomenon that's happened over the last decade or so, realize that if they want to move their audience, they need to be idea forward and get their values out into the world through a talk. And so they're bringing me in to help them pull together what you and I might call like a signature talk or a TEDx like talk that is idea forward, because they understand how powerful the platform is and how their audiences aren't interested anymore on exactly what we know. They're interested in our experience, what it means, the value it brings, and why it matters. And that's what these TEDx like talks are all about.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I can you speak to that person who is, it's the premise. I'll back up. The premise of what Chris Anderson put together with TEDx is that every single person on the planet has an idea worth spreading. Some of the people who have the most profound ideas they're profound because they're so almost insignificant sounding, almost everyday, almost mundane, but there's this authentic spin on it. Could you kind of walk me through that? Because I'm talking to some people right now, getting that question all over the place, and everybody wants to know, can I really spread an idea from whatever kind of a branded stage? What do you do to work with somebody exactly like that, Sally?
Well, that's exactly what my talk is actually about, is to really encourage people to that they are an unspeaker. You can be an unspeaker. And I'm one of those people who believes that everybody has a TEDx talk in them or a branded talk in them. I just believe it to my core, because our experiences, if we can, and this is what thought leaders do, of course, is to articulate a specific point of view. And it's based on observation and insight and expertise, and bringing the synopsis of all of that together and saying something new about what might be ordinary, right? And so there's this beautiful potential in everybody to do that. Now, I will say, I think there's a lot of TEDx branded talks out there that are not living up to the possibility and capacity of this platform, because it's all here
Mm-hmm.
and no thank you, right? They're just relying on their expertise and what they know.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, just as an audience member, thanks for teaching me something, but I don't care. I don't know why it matters. I don't know what the possibility is. Like, there's
Talk
so much
Universe,
more we can
I'm
do.
breaking in on this because Talk Universe, we're talking to you right now.
We
Okay. You're an
are.
expert, you know your stuff, but knowing isn't enough. So I want to kind of interrupt very rudely and let Sally go in, even giving you permission, Sally, go in even more brutally to kind of attack that old, really it's almost an entitlement or a resting on your laurels view, instead of coming to a branded stage like a TED or a TEDx or a Q or Idea City or whatever it is,
Mhm.
short form, idea centric talks out there, approaching to it. What can I give? How can I contribute, as opposed to just unloading what you know? So let
Well,
us have it.
and the truth is, Nathan, I think a lot of what gets in the way for people in this process is a lot of fear about, what do I really have to offer? Can I impact an audience? I'm not a speaker. I'm an expert in this. And so a lot of my job is transforming that mindset and really changing people's approach on this. And that if we want to move our audiences, if we want them to care about what we're saying, if we want it to have an impact, then we have to really show up, to kind of carry, on top of what Rob was saying. Like, we can't just memorize some perfect words and say them out loud and expect it to have an impact. Like, there's a whole different level of presence that has to come, of really really showing up in terms of the process, like how you prepare yourself and get ready for this kind of thing. And then, of course, the level of risk that you're willing to take in the moment to really be there. And it's live theater, like, it's video, right? That's the viral part. That's the part that we can't forget about, because there's great potential there. But as a speaker, when you are in the room, there is something magical that can happen if you really show up and if you really connect, and if that's what the focus is. And if not, then you're missing out on a huge opportunity. And most people, honestly, I think, just shut down in that moment, because it's scary, and it is a lot safer to just go up in your head, and the script is running through your head, and you play it small and you play it safe. And I totally get it. It's an incredibly vulnerable thing to do, to speak, and I honor anybody who steps out on that stage and goes for it. But I just think there's so much more we can do with those moments. And so that is my passion, and that is what I love to do, just draw people out of that and draw them to the edges of what is possible for them and the edges of themselves, because that is where the intriguing, powerful stuff happens. That is real, that's authenticity, and that's vulnerability in life. And not only does it make it more interesting and more dramatic and like intriguing for the audience, but that can be really transformative for the speaker herself or himself. Like, there's something really powerful that can happen when we show up in those moments in a way that we didn't think we could.
Well, we've been enjoying this talk with the unspeaker, SallyZimney. Her talk is called Not a Speaker, Be an Unspeaker. And there's a lot more where that came from. We are going to pivot over to you in just a moment, Talk Universe, for the Blitz Round. And we're back with SallyZimney. It is time for the Blitz Round. We're going to talk about you, Talk Universe. We're going to talk about you because we're going to investigate through a series of either-or questions Sally's journey to the stage. Sally, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, first, were you invited to speak or did you apply?
I applied.
Wow, just like the rest of us. Awesome.
Yep.
Are you a memorizer, improviser, or a blender?
So here's what I'm going to say about this, Nathan. Memorizing is for the birds. Okay. And Rob was exactly right when he was talking about what I call integration. So that's what we're going for. We're going for something much deeper than memorization. You have to put in a lot of time. You cannot wing this thing. And I know most people don't wing it, but they don't spend as much time as they need to. Integration is not just knowing the words, it's feeling the words. It is in your body. You know it so well that, as Rob was saying, you can be doing something else at the same time and it is already in you. That level of integration is the only way you're going to be able to be fully present, connect with what you're saying, and connect with your audience.
So in terms of connection, you walk out on stage, Sally, were you nervous? Were you in the zone? Neither or both?
I think both. I was really nervous, which was a great meta experience for me to have as a presentation coach, to put myself in the kind of experience that feels high stakes enough that you're like, whoo, big stuff is happening here. And that is why I started my talk with the internal thoughts that go through so many of our heads before we step out on stage, which is, oh my gosh, what are they going to think about this? How is this going to go? What if I screw up? And because that's real. And honestly, that is true for every speaker I've ever worked with, regardless of how experienced they are, how new they are to this. That internal monologue is something we have to manage and handle, and it's present. And so shifting our approach from, and you were talking about this before, shifting our approach from, oh my gosh, I'm nervous, to I'm so excited. This is going to be great. I can't wait to show this to them. That level of energy and excitement and joy is going to come out, and your adrenaline will taper off. You got to just give yourself a few minutes and hang in there. And that's why really nailing your beginning and practicing it a lot will help you, because it may take you a while to really settle in and be in the moment and be in the room.
Sally, what's a tip, tool, or technique that helped you?
So I've been talking a little bit about process and rehearsal. And so most of the people I talk with don't rehearse enough on their feet. And so the biggest tip I can give any of you out there who are on the journey of giving a branded talk like this is to get on your feet before you're ready when you are rehearsing. So don't spend, it's really safe zone is perfecting your content and your slides. And that's a really safe place to live. And we can get really obsessed with that. When you're at about 80% done with your content, that's when I want you to start getting up on your feet and rehearsing on your feet.
Excellent.
You learn so much on your feet that you will never learn until you get on your feet. And so you want to learn it sooner rather than later.
Cut for time question. What was the most painful part of your talk that you had to cut out?
Oh, the end. It's just the end. It was too long. And we're looking back on it now, I'm like, nah, I didn't love my ending. But that's the part where we just want to jam so much in. And there's so much we want to say, and just cut for time, get to the point, short and sweet, end.
We've been enjoying the Blitz Round with SallyZimney. If you want to check out her talk, Not a Speaker, Be an Unspeaker, you can go to our show notes page at bethetalk.com. We will have a clickable link to the talk, as well as Sally's website, thismovedme.com. Thismovedme.com. You'll be able to connect with her, find out all of her additional insights that we didn't even have time to unpack here today. However, we're coming back to Sally in just a moment for the final word of advice. And we're back with SallyZimney. It's time for the final word of advice for Talk Universe.
My final word of advice for you, unspeakers out there in Talk Land, is to let go of the idea of perfection. That if something goes wrong, if things don't go exactly how you imagine them to, that could be a beautiful moment of presentation gold because it's real. And so to really show up in the moment, to embrace the live theater aspect of it, love up the people in your room, and let go of that idea of perfection. If you can do that, some beautiful things could happen.
Well, SallyZimney, thank you so much for carving out time to be on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Thank you. It was a joy to be here, Nathan. I love what you're doing.
And that's a wrap.
Good.
All
What
right.
a cool approach you have here.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, they left a lot on the table for me. I'm bringing Rob back on. Hey, man, memorizations for the birds, Rob.
I like the way that you
fighting words. Woo!
I love it, but I like the way Sally then went deeper.
He heard it, Sally. I was watching Rob there. Rob didn't do that. Oh my gosh! Yeah,
I'll tell you what I was doing, Sally. I was on your website looking through some of your resources, which are absolutely brilliant. But
thank you.
I think you're absolutely right. It's I loved what you said there, but then it's that, you know, it's that depth, isn't it? It's that going deeper. Yeah. It's knowing it in detail. I love your site. I think we should engage outside of this. To be honest,
that would be great. I'd love that. And like you, I mean, I don't have the extensive experience that you had, but I was a theater person for a long time. And so I do think, right, it makes sense. And I think it's, as a coach, I was, I have all the technical experience in speech. I did speech, blah, blah, blah. You've got all the technical skills, but I think it's my theater experience that softened the approach and that helps you dig into something a little bit deeper, because you can be a technically perfect speaker and not move your audience.
Exactly.
It ultimately does not matter how perfectly you deliver your talk. What matters is what happens between you and the audience. And that is something else entirely. And that requires us as speakers to dig in a different way.
It's the same thing. It's live theatre, because we've all been to theatre and seen technically brilliant performances on stage, but felt completely disconnected to that character because they haven't done all the things that we're talking about, the background behind who that character is, why they're there, that authentic approach. Authentic has become the latest cool trendy word. Someone said to me the other week in business, can you coach me to be authentic? I'm like, really? Are you asking that question? Do you know what I mean?
That's a funny line. Can you coach me to be it's like, can you coach me to be honest or something?
Yeah,
I'm exactly. A liar. Can you coach me to be honest? Here's $500.
It's a genuine question.
Well,
it's made me think about.
Right? Like that's exactly.
I'm going to put that in my non-existent stand-up act tonight at the pub. That's hilarious. That's really funny.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, Sally, I'll throw this in. I mean, I think it's a brilliant that you approach it that way. You approach the memorization question that way, because memorization is a complete trigger word for any, non-actor, non-performing artist that is going to, oh my God, so you gotta explain the same thing a totally different way, which you just did.
Yeah. Well, and if you have an acting,
and we're still broadcasting, by the way, on Facebook Live, so let's not get too chummy with each other.
That's good. But I think if you have an acting background, like Rob said, you know how to take the words into your body and understand them and personalize them. And if you don't have that background, we're asking a lot of people to just say, memorize these words, and then it's going to be great. It's like, not really how it works,
Not cool at all. Well, on that note, I'm going to end the Facebook Live broadcast. We can all wave goodbye to everybody. And again, be the creepy kid from The Shining. Share this. Get the message out. There's some value bombs here today. Take care, everybody. All right.